I'm so excited for this conversation. I feel like you are the idyllic guest for Facing Forward and just this community. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here.
Oh my God, thank you so much. I feel like I basically beat down your door to be here. You were like, no question. Of course, let's do it.
Yeah, scrolling through your feed, I feel like we connected on Instagram just for everyone's reference. And I feel like yeah, it's been a while since I made a connection like this on Instagram. I feel like I've kind of had a boundary with it, but it's like, this is what this platform is for. It's not just about promoting your business and whatnot, but about really connecting with like-minded individuals. So thrilled to have you here. And we typically start off these conversations talking about catalytic moments. And I know you've had a couple of them that really have informed the work that you put out into the world and your journey as a intuitive channel, as a somatic bodywork expert and Kundalini facilitator. So I would love for you to just share your story.
Sure. It's so interesting because as this sort of ever evolving being that we all are, I've realized that transformation is never just one thing. Like I feel like I've had so many different transformations and so many different versions of myself and so many catalytic moments. And I think the two big ones for me really started with my physical healing journey. I really started in that space of having chronic illness, dealing with chronic pain for, I would say, about 10, 15 years now. I've had several back surgeries. I really started out with trying to figure out what was happening in my body. And as I was going through that journey and getting diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis, which is inflammatory arthritis, as I started to
Mm.
get these diagnoses and Lyme disease and all these other things, I started to move into the spiritual space. I feel like I was like, oh, I'm spending all this time in the physical space, and now I need to move into the spiritual space and connect the dots, right? That there's really more than just the clinical side of things. So, as I was doing all of that, I was also educating myself on health, getting a master's degree in clinical nutrition, taking all of these courses and certifications to really try to find out what my purpose was, which was, to be a natural healer and herbalist and all these different things. And I was really just pushing and pushing and being like, okay, like, why am I here? What am I doing? And then about 2 years ago, the universe stepped in. I had gone outside into a park near my home and I literally put my hands up in the air and I was like, I'm ready. Show me like what I'm here to do. Like, let's do
Wow.
this. And later that day, I lost my corporate marketing job. Literally lost my job. Like, I was let go like a few hours later. And I had been wanting to leave. I don't think I would have done it if the universe didn't step in. Like, but I was like, let's go. Like, I'm ready. And I lost my job and I haven't looked back. I've been working for myself ever since and finally doing what I'm here to do. It was like sink or swim, basically.
Wow. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
full body
Yeah, I have chills
goosebumps.
too. I'm like, yes.
My
Like,
eyes started to water. I think we forget to ask for help and forget
yeah.
that we have so much support around us. Like our angels, our guides are like
Yeah.
fully listening. So that's beautiful. Like that was such a hand of the universe, hand of God moment.
Yeah.
Truly like instantaneously. How
Yeah.
and so right now you're very multidimensional. You have this
Mhm.
herbalism company, you have Nebula Soul. How how do you stay focused, I think, juggling so many different aspects of your business? Like do you have any particular methodologies or practices to help stay in flow while you're juggling so many different integrative holistic health modalities?
Oh my God, 100%. I would not be here because also, as you had said when we first jumped on before we were recording, I also have a daughter. I have an 8-month-old. So like for me, like being grounded is so important. And I will say that part of it has also been leaning into who I am as a person. Like I
Mm.
love creativity and I thrive in chaos, which I think for some people is like, you have to understand that about yourself and be like, well, I'm just going to ride the wave of all the chaos and be like, this is where I do the best and really learn that about myself. And I would not be anywhere if it wasn't for breath work. and
Mm.
the Kundalini energy that I do, I find time to do it every single day. And I am someone who has clients all over who I'm like, you don't have to do self-care every single day, right? Like it's hard to kind of be like, okay, I have to do these practices, but I wouldn't have made it through my pregnancy without breath work, and I wouldn't have made it here from that point till now, the last 8 months, without having those practices that I can actually tune into my body
Mm.
and run my own energy and also, really focus on my breath.
I think breath work is the one modality that I actually resist the most, but it's the one that cracks me open the most at the same
Yeah.
time. And I'm starting to dabble in Kundalini. Like I did it 5 to 7 years ago, like on and off. And I feel like it's really having a moment right now. Like it's
Yeah.
really like the collective is really starting to click with it. And I've seen you doing it in group activations. Like what is actually going on within these activations? Can you take us through like what Kundalini energy
Yeah.
is and how it runs through our body and how it's activated?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is definitely, I'm so excited that it's having a moment because there's so much controversy around Kundalini, and there's so much like people are afraid of it sometimes, and it's really such a natural frequency. So the difference between energy work of Kundalini and, let's say, Reiki is that Reiki healers pull from the energies around them. Kundalini is actually an energy that we all have within us. So it lies
Mm.
dormant at the base of our spine. So I had to really work on my own Kundalini energy and really refine my energy to be able to work on other people, because it's my energy that is awakening yours when I'm working with you. So I'm really pulling from my energetic sources to then help you awaken yours. So what's happening is that I'm then working with your energy to rise it up. And the Kundalini energy is also known as a snake, or it's serpentine, right? Because it kind of moves in this moment, in this movement of being a snake, and it goes through the chakras, and it's a very, very high frequency, smart energy. So I always tell people that it gives you exactly what you need. So if there's a place in your body where there is something that's stuck, whether it's an emotion or an old trauma or some energy, that's usually where it goes. And what I
Mm.
do is I will intuitively pick up on that. So I'm running the energy regardless, but then I'll notice that something needs to be released, let's say in your heart chakra, and you might feel tightness in your chest. And then I'm helping you to move that energy through to kind of like burst through, right? It's almost like a pipe that has something stuck there for the energy to move through. And so then I'm helping you get that out, which could either be a body movement, right? When you see people kind of like flailing around, it's really, they're just having a release, and it looks like an exorcism. Could be very jarring looking, but that's really just a release. That's the energy moving. But it also could be a cough or a sigh, so it could be also really subtle. So what I'm doing in those group activations is essentially moving those energies, and then I walk around each person and I'm kind of looking at your body and getting in tune with what's going on, and then I'm helping you to move those things out.
Okay, yeah. Everyone needs to go to Amanda's Instagram and check this out because it's really wild to see, everyone laying down with their eyes closed and you working on them from above, and then them literally having these somatic releases, these body like convulsions, if you will. And I think that just really showcases how much trauma we do store in our body, and like how honestly, like you were saying, like you are really activating like a cough, a sigh, like simple movements. And it's like such a gentle reminder or a powerful reminder, actually, gentle but powerful reminder for us that we can do that in our
Mhm.
everyday too, right? Like just moving our hips, and I know you talked about this on Instagram, which is like such a good
Yeah.
reminder, like move it, like yawning. Like I literally like sigh out multiple times in the morning. Like how do you integrate these practices into your day to day like that? Like, how do you
Oh yeah.
integrate, like, yeah, I feel like as a mom too, like just
Oh
ongoing, like
yeah.
throughout pregnancy and everything, I feel like you don't not always have to do a whole Kundalini activation. Like, these are very simple practices that you can integrate within your everyday.
100%. And I am so for that, because I love like a 2 hour deep like breathwork Kundalini session, but like I rarely have that chunk of time together,
Right.
right? Like I only have a few minutes here and there, and I'm big on sighing too. Like I will take a couple of deep breaths, or I'll rub my hands together, right, to get energy flowing. Like right before we hopped on here, I've been feeling just really fast energy, a lot of anxiety, not just because of what's happening in the world and the universe right now. Like I'm moving very fast. So I rubbed my hands together and I just sort of like brought the energy out into like almost like a
Mm,
circle. And I just like brought that to my chest just to like calm down. And I'll like take like a moment and just like breathe in and out and then move
mm.
forward. So I'm doing it all the time because I also believe that in order for me to show up and to be able to do this with other people, I have to embody it and I have to live it and I have to actually be doing it and not just talking about it.
Amen. 100%. And you said something so much about like creating a clear vessel for
Hmm.
other to like to be working on other people. And like it really like rubs me the wrong way when I see people take these like, 24-hour certifications and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
they're a healer, a practitioner. And I'm like, this is a lifelong work. Like we need to get out of this instant gratification mindset and really integrate and embody the work ourselves because I don't know, like I always, when I'm sitting down with a healer, I'm like, I take everything that they're saying with a grain of salt because it's like this wisdom, this light, this transmission is coming through their vessel. And
Hmm.
you can really tell through your work, like just like how clear your vessel is. Like just scrolling through your feed and like looking at your digital landscape and connecting with you, like it's like you are standing behind the work kind of a thing. You are letting like a higher power kind of take hold.
Yeah. And it's been scary too. Like I think I feel like I just recently sort of came out of the spiritual closet in a lot of ways. And it does feel the reason why I'm doing it is bigger than me. You know, I also feel like the way that it comes through, like I use that as a way to be able to be like, okay, I'm going to show up in this work, right? Or I'm going to change my mindset because then I can't show up for other people. So I try really hard to keep my vessel really clear, but it's so crazy because I see those people all the time who are just like, okay, like now I can do this energy. What I love so much about Kundalini and why it spoke to me so much is that it's so unique. So you can go to five different people who do Kundalini activation, and there's different types, and there's, KAP is Kundalini activation process. I think that's very, very popular right now. You can go to all these different people and have a different experience. And how
Right.
I was taught to do it was my teacher just kept activating my Kundalini. She never said this is how to do it. So my practice of it, or you come to a class or one on one, is entirely different than you're going to do with anybody else because I invented it as this is my actual practice and I'm doing it with you. But like you could go to somebody else and it'll be totally different.
Right. And that's when the most powerful medicine is really bestowed onto others is when you synthesize like these teachings and synthesize it and integrate it with your unique experience and like your unique magic and then like give that unique power to the world around you. Like that is collective healing. So
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. And I want to circle back to one note you said because I feel like it's really prevalent like right now. Another trendy topic is like the witch wound. And I feel
Yes.
like there's a lot of shame and a lot of just like pushback overall from, haters outside of the spiritual community and also in the spiritual community too. There's like a lot of just shaming within
Yeah.
Kundalini and like light transmissions. Like, how do you manage pushback like that from haters and just set boundaries with non believers?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good question because I just posted something about the witch moon and I just this morning had very religious people coming at me, and I was just speaking to my parents who are not in this realm of things that I am. I grew up going to Catholic school. I mean, I really grew up in a more religious household, more spiritual household, I should say. And so it's been a little bit of adversity.
Hmm.
I it was really hard for me to start coming out and talking about these things. I was very scared that people were going to burn me alive. Like I actually had said I had gone into a hypnosis and someone was trying to talk to me about my fear and they were like, "What is stopping you from really just coming forth?" And I was like, "They're going to burn me. I don't want to be persecuted for who I am because this is who I really am." And to overcome that, I really had to lean into that the purpose is bigger than I am. With channeling light language, I will say I used to watch people channeling and it always freaked me out. I always felt really had this like weird feeling with it. Like I'd be like, it's really creepy. It looks so weird. These people are possessed. When I started channeling, I was like, oh no. I was like, I did not ask for this. This is not the gift that I wanted. Like, if I could go back and choose, like, I would choose a different gift. Like, this is not the one I want, but it is what I've been given. And so now I'm like, I have to share this. I have to do this. This is bigger than me. The haters can hate because this is what I truly believe and who I am. And I didn't ask for this. I wasn't like, I'd love to channel. Let me see if I can do it. I was like, oh shit, I don't want to channel. Here I am.
Oh, I love that because we are typically given the gift or teach what we're meant to heal in this lifetime, right? And so I definitely want to get into the light transmissions, but just to parallel what we're talking about on just like
Yeah.
given the get that we need to heal. I recently did an ayahuasca ceremony and it was like my first one and I don't do it. I like don't I feel like I was in this deep stage of healing, like 5 or so years ago. And I'm really in this like more simple, like finding the magic in the mundane kind of stage in
Mm.
my life. But I did more ayahuasca than anyone in the ceremony and didn't really feel a damn thing. And it's like
Ooh.
that I was given the medicine of just being with the sacredness of my own being and being with the sacred energy of myself and like feeling the fullness of that space within me and that nothingness and that nothingness. And it was like, I was like, I wanted this, like, to rip my wounds out and like look at them and
Right.
honor them
Right.
and then just like, heal them and throw, like, I wanted to see like aliens and all the ancestral
Right.
stuff. And I was given like just the most gentle, nurturing experience. I was like, I am given the gift that I meant to teach. Like, I
Yeah.
am given the gift that I meant to heal. And I love that so much that you were
Uh,
given the gift of these light transmissions. How did these come through you? Like,
oh my
tell
God.
us the story.
So funny because again, like I was like, no, like I felt like the universe was like dragging me again. I have a lot of, resistance and surrender, like kind of this like experience with the universe, as I had said before. Like whenever I surrender myself, like this is like when the universe steps in. And it was similar, when I got pregnant, I was like trying, and then I was like, whatever. If I don't get pregnant, don't get pregnant. And I got pregnant. So
Of
like
course.
it's just like the way that I like my relationship is. They're like, okay, you need to like give in. So I started doing these Kundalini activations where I was receiving the energy and then I was also doing it on myself. And I started to realize that I was like moving my hands and like doing all the like almost like sign language. And I wasn't really noticing I was doing it during the transmissions, but then I would be talking, like I would be having a conversation with my husband or my father, and my father was like, when did you learn sign language? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I was going like this. And I've always spoken with my hands. I'm Italian. So I'm always like, people will comment on like my stuff and they'll be like, I've never seen somebody speak with their hands as much as you do. And I'm like, okay. But I was like doing these like movements and I was like coding. I was doing codes with my hands. So then I was like, okay, let's lean into this. I started realizing it was codes. Like I didn't know about it. And then one day I started speaking and making sounds. I started speaking this other language. And when I tell you, I had heard of light language before, but I didn't ask for this in that I didn't know what it was. I wasn't like, okay, like, let's see if I can speak light language. Like, it just like came out of me, this different language. And I just started researching it and I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm doing, this is what's happening. And everything clicked because I had realized that there would be moments where I'd be talking to somebody and words would come through with a client and I'd be like, I don't know where that came from. Like I'd be like, you
Mhm.
have Epstein Barr, I just know it, but I don't know how, like just things would come through. Or I wrote my cookbook and I don't remember like writing it, like kind of thing, like things just come through. And so I learned that I've been channeling my whole life, but I never
Mhm.
really leaned into it in this way. And so then I just started opening the floodgates with it because I was like, it feels really good. And I had sent it to my therapist, like basically like check to see if I'm mentally insane. And she's very connected and very like spiritual. And she wrote back to me and she was like, that was insane. My whole body is like convulsing, and like I was like, okay, so I'm sane. This is real. This is happening. I'm not, and I was like, this is a gift that I have and I need to share it. And the more that I've leaned into it, the more that's come through. And to your point about like, kind of seeing other people through a filter, I've gone to every type of healer and I'm always looking for answers.
Mhm.
Now I tune into myself and I receive my own channeling versus always being like, okay, like somebody has to tell me like where I'm going or where I'm stuck. Now I'm like, okay, like I just talk to my guides or I just tune in and I'm sort of like my own healer in that way.
And for people that don't understand what light language is that like it's a transmission from a higher power, but do you connect with like a certain higher power, aka like a certain alien group?
Yeah, so I do. Okay, so in terms of people, I'm so excited to talk about this.
I
I have been
love this
really,
shit.
I'm so excited to talk about this. I feel like I'm like alive right now. So different people, like I had said, pull from different places. I
Yeah.
pull from cosmic energies. Like that is what I pull from. So if somebody has an experience with me, they are usually going to have a bit of a cosmic experience because that's who I work with. So light language is two things. It is the language of our soul and our frequency. So it's a very, very high frequency language that is our soul speaking. Because we come from, and this is what I believe, and other people can believe whatever they want, because we have spent time in other constellations and we come from these alien or starseed groups, there are different languages with each group. So, for example, the Pleiadians speak a certain frequency language, or the Arcturians speak a different language, or the Mintakans. And so there's all these different groups. Some people, when they will download, they'll only maybe speak the one where they were from, right? Their origin. Because I'm a very old soul that spent time like in all of these different constellations, to speak a bunch of different ones. So like I will channel from the Pleiadians or I'll channel, from the Hadarians and they sound different or I'll be working with someone and I can know where they're from because I'll start speaking their language because their spiritual team is there and they're like, okay, like activate the codes within her. And so I speak to all of them. So it can be transmissions from these groups where you can speak their language, or it's just the language of your soul, depending on, who you are and how you download the transmissions.
I haven't had a conversation like this in so long, and that was the word I was looking for is the starseed group. I mean, that's like
Mhm.
basically another word to
Yeah.
say like alien. It's like a gentle new age
Yeah.
way of saying alien. Someone told me that I'm like I've been a Palladian in the past, and then another one, but I can't remember. How many groups are there?
Oh my
Many.
God, there's so many. We don't even know all of them. And that's
Right.
like the thing that's so cool about them. And they all have their own frequency. So there's Palladian, there's Mintakan, there's the Blue Avians, there's the Atlanteans, the Venusians, Hadarians.
Wow.
That's all I can think of right now. But there's so many different ones and they kind of the light language because it's so powerful, it evolves over time. So at first I was speaking Palladian because I work a lot with the Palladians and they are the star seed that is closest to Earth. They really
Yeah.
help humans a lot. So I'm sure that you because of what you do and how you communicate and how that's like so much of how you present yourself, they're probably with you all the time, so that probably comes up for you, but you also I'm sure have spent time in other places, where so they all come up as star seeds and we always try to find like what's our star seed, like where do we, and then we identify with that. And the message that I got in the beginning of this journey, because I was like, where am I from, like I had been told Pleiades or Mintaka, and they were basically like, stop trying to put yourself in a box. Like you come from
Yes.
source. You've been in all these places and just like accept all of it and channel from all of them, not just one.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Such a good reminder that just like it's cliche, but it's so profound in that like we genuinely are all interconnected. Like we've all lived many, many lifetimes, young and old souls. And it's just like, yeah, where you can't confine yourself or your spiritual journey to this mold. Like
Yeah.
These are tools and guides that help us tune into our own unique zone of genius and our own gifts in this lifetime and beyond. I'm curious if you can channel on command. Like, or does it just come through like when you're just randomly, or do you have to like create a sacred container for it? Or like, could you open up right now and channel if you wanted to?
I can open up pretty quickly. Like I can channel whenever. Like I channel like every this is like really funny. I don't know if there's any other moms who are like doing this kind of stuff, but I had received the message that I should like bring my daughter into it a little bit. And so at night before she goes to bed, I massage her legs with oil, like one of my body oils, and then I do light language on her before she goes to bed. And so that is the most like on command that I could think of because I not always in the zone to like do that. Like sometimes like she's crying and it's like, and I'm like, okay, like just like let me just like all I have to do is kind of like tune in and then like I kind of can like call them in and then I can just like go and do it.
Do
So
you feel
it's yeah.
Do you feel an impact or like a difference in her energy and her body language somatically when you do light language on her?
She loves it. She'll start to smile and like she knows babies' souls are so much closer to that place, right? Where they had like
Mhm.
kind of just left, right? The universal like source connective area, wherever that is. And so she like knows. I'm like, your soul knows. You know that like this is so when she calms down, she'll smile, she'll laugh, and it's like it's really, yeah. And I'm like,
Wow.
I hope this is helping you sleep. And I do a little energy, put a little crystal on her head. I'm like, sleep work that way.
Brandon listening is being like, oh my God, this is literally what I'm in store for. And I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
But like,
Yep.
I mean, I think I'm still in the stage of tuning into, my own inner voice because I feel like it's very easy as like a conscious business owner, at least for me, to like stay in my masculine energy. And I feel like this is really like a divine feminine energy. It's really an like a combination and an intermingling of both energies, but it's definitely more feminine. But I'm curious, and there's no pressure here, but would you
Yeah.
want to open up and share any like light language that comes through in this
Yeah.
moment so people understand like what it feels like? Because when I listened to it, I got just goosebumps and was like, had like a little bit of shivers up my spine when I was listening
Yeah.
to it.
It feels very high frequency. I can definitely do it because I feel like within our conversation, like I'm very lit up right now. Like I have chills. So, okay. You just need like a minute.
Mm-hmm.
They're telling us that we need to let go to trying to figure out how to do everything. We need to just be and let them figure out how. Just relax. Find what makes us happy. That's what it's about.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you. That was like that
Wow.
was like Palladian. Palladian's very high pitched. And so when I speak Palladian, I have that like crazy voice, like where it's like, and it's like that's like the Palladian. They're very like squeaky, kind of like dolphin, that, and like also like blue avian, which is like a bird starseed. They're also become like very like chirp like. And then there's some that are like very sexy and like Octurian,
Wow.
deep and sexy. And that's how I can kind of like see the difference.
Wow. And do you remember like what you just told us? What you just shared?
I do, like, I'm kind of, like, present, but, like, not, like, I kind of sometimes I have to record myself, like, when I'm doing it, like, really deep. I tend to translate, like, so if I was doing, like, let's say, like, we did a reading, like, where I did your Akashic records or something, like, I would be, like, half speaking English, half speaking, and it's just because that's how I bring it forth, like where I kind of like am translating and like I kind of just understand what it is. So for something short like that, I will remember. But like if I go into a long reading, I remember pieces of things, or I remember feelings, or I remember things I saw from understanding, but I don't always remember like I could never repeat that. I have no idea like what I said. I have no idea like what came.
Right. I mean, it's like disassociation to a certain degree, but like it's like embodied channeling.
Yeah, I have to
It,
give over to them. Like they have to come
right.
through. Yeah.
And that's again just like embodying the lesson of like we are here to like learn and like discover the gift within us and like have that like gift be at the forefront of our lives. Like we sit, I'm like, actually feel like a shaman speaking through me right now. Cause I feel like in an ayahuasca ceremony, it's like you sit behind the medicine, like you give over, you surrender to the medicine. And I think that's like really with any modality, it's like surrendering, not from a state of bypassing, not that they're that tool, that healer, that modality is going to do the work for you, but it's really like being open to what comes forth and then like taking that, integrating that, embodying that with your own, again, like synthesizing that with your own life and then shining that gift back out into the world. So it's
Yeah.
really beautiful how it's like, again, that's what channeling is. You are a vessel for a higher power. And like, what a beautiful, beautiful lesson to just like, find joy. We forget about this in this like capitalistic hustle, even with healing day and age,
Yeah.
we like typically transpose our hustle mentality onto healing. And it's just like when you tap into the play and the joy and that bliss, like that is actually where the magic happens. Like that's when you get the downloads. Like that's when, just like you said, when you just like surrendered, gave yourself a little bit more space, that's when the light transmission dropped in.
Yeah.
And it's like that's so incredible. What do you believe is like the future of this language? Do you feel like more people will start to speak in this way or like start to teach and heal in this capacity?
I hope so. I think there's so much still to be left uncovered there. I think that there's people, hopefully people who are gifted in this way and opening up to those gifts. And just quickly back to Kundalini, like one of the things that Kundalini does is it helps activate these gifts, right? Because it helps you remember who your soul is. And so whatever those gifts are, they come on like through this, right? Because it also raises your frequency to be able to do it. So I hope that more people are doing it and that they're channeling things like books, right? Or they're channeling this information because the information is so useful. It's useful on a collective level where there's things that we just need to understand as we're all kind of waking up. And so many people are, all these light beings are waking up. And then also just working one on one with people. Like what I get from it is I channel the medicine that they need and
Mm-hmm.
what I need to do to help them heal themselves. That's why I never refer to myself as a healer because I
Mm-hmm.
don't. First of all, it's not coming from me. I'm a vessel for whatever is coming through. And also, I'm helping that person figure out where it is in their body to heal their energy, heal themselves. So I'm getting the medicine coming through for them. And so that's why I think like the light language and the channeling can be so beneficial because it helps to get into that other place, that subconscious. We are so trying to control everything. And that's why that
Mm-hmm.
message keeps coming through for so many people of like, stop trying to figure out how. Like, we want things to happen, we want to move forward, but we don't have any control over the how. We just have to like get on the ride, right?
And
Like, yeah.
totally. And if you're a, quote unquote, like leader or a visionary, what you're doing is not going to look like what anyone else is doing. And that's something I have to consistently remind myself. I learned like very early on in my career to wear blinders. And I've kept that, really close to my heart throughout my personal and professional journey. But it really is so true. Like, again, you have to tune into like your unique core essence and like what does that expression look like in the world, because it doesn't look like, if you really are tuning into it, it doesn't look like what anyone else is really doing. It has your unique magic imbued into it. And
Yeah.
that's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful and it is so challenging. Like I will say, like, as a rational person, and I always say this, I'm like, as a rational person, I'm a New Yorker like you are, like I realize how ridiculous this can sound sometimes, and I also really struggle with applying masculine ways to like this very feminine business. And so that's a very big struggle I'm going through right now because yes, I'm doing all these things that are beautiful and feminine, but I've been in corporate America for, over a decade. And so now I'm like, okay, how does this thrive and how does this work in this masculine world? And I think that's where a lot of healers and people are kind of stuck right now. So I understand that as well of like, you're like, okay, like how does this work in both of those worlds?
Yeah, 100%. One of my teachers, Janet Wright Orth, recently told me like with this retail concept, I'm like everyone kind of thinks I'm crazy and this isn't going to work, and you always get so much pushback, just like you're getting with your light transmissions. But she told me the story of Dr. Seuss, which was so fascinating. On like he had like hundreds of publishers tell him no, like hundreds and hundreds of publishers tell him no, and there was this like one very, very teeny indie book publisher that said like took a bet on him, and like look at him now. And it's like, I mean, that's just
Yeah.
like a very synthesized story, but
Yeah.
you hear those stories all the time. It's like you gotta, Brandon always tells me, you gotta zig when everyone's zagging. And I
Yeah.
think that's like really what we're trying to do, like get messy. Like there's so much medicine in just the art of being a human being, exploring life, which is art, you know?
Yeah.
You mentioned Kundalini as a pathway to help us discover this medicine within us, these light transmissions. Are there any other tools or techniques that you recommend people integrate into their day to day to help raise our vibration?
Yeah. So, okay. So, my main things for that are, so yes, Kundalini is great. Also, breath work, but like deep breath work, like holotropic breath work, which now there's so many different ways to not have to do it for like 2 hours, but like, connected conscious breathing, right? Like that can kind of also be a way when you're concentrating on the breath to get out of your headspace.
Mm,
And then anything that raises your vibration or frequency, my favorite thing is listening to frequency music and binaural
same.
beats. Obsessed. I love it so much. And I do that every single night. Like that is what I am doing. Like my husband laughs at me because he puts our daughter to bed. Like that's like he does the night routine. And I go to the bedroom and he's like, "You don't watch TV or anything." I'm like, "I am literally just listening to music because I'm so overstimulated." Like I'm not watching anything. I'm just like literally just listening to music, and it's like usually just like vibration. That is the easiest thing. You could do that driving to work. You could do that anywhere, and that is like such an easy thing to do.
Oh, yes, I play it at a consistent hum throughout our
Um,
apartment to help like consistently clear the energy of our space and like before meetings. And there's so many just different types of
yeah.
frequencies that you can listen to. And I love how this is like really connecting to the masses. I'm curious what your routines are right now. I don't want to get like too masculine and too like routine
No,
oriented,
yeah.
but I love hearing about people's morning and evening routines. What are some
Yeah.
rituals that you're loving right now?
Yeah, I mean, listen, my life has basically been hit by a Mack truck, like having a baby. So,
Yeah.
and she sleeps in our room right now because, we're not in the city, but we're still living that like city life, right? We're in an apartment,
Mhm.
she's in our room. So I have to be so intentional about the things that I am doing from a routine basis. So, like, my morning stuff that I do is sometimes I do a coffee enema. I like do
Mm,
like my coffee enemas still sometimes. So sometimes I do those. I always drink chlorophyll in the morning. That
mm,
like energizes me. I drink matcha. Yes, yes, chlorophyll, chlorophyll. I drink matcha mixed with kava. I'm like really into
mm.
kava, and kava can slow a lot of people down, but for me, it like gives me energy. So I always do that. And so it's like very like herbal, earth connected morning stuff. And then I will do some Kundalini at some point in the afternoon. Like I kind of will stop like work. I'll work in the morning space and then I'll do some sort of Kundalini activation and breath work. And then at night I'm just like jamming to my my frequency music, and then like watching Bravo and going to bed because it's not like I don't, then indulge myself.
Yeah, 100%. It's not like either or. They can all live like cohesively together. I
Yeah.
love that. So you do coffee enemas daily, or like is that
No, not daily, just
okay?
like
Okay.
every so often. But that's like one of my like things that I love doing that I feel like is like a self-care thing. I know it's like so controversial, but I love them. I don't know. I
I've
started
actually
doing it.
never Yeah, I've actually never done one, but they've been on my radar and I've heard incredible things honestly from them, but I know they are controversial. Like some people have had negative side effects from them, but I feel like it's a great way to get clear overall.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I mean, clearing your energy, clearing your body is like also like one of those things. I started doing them when I was like deep in my Lyme disease healing. Like,
Right.
whole nother conversation for another time. But like
We'll have
Gerson,
you
I did.
back.
I'll come back and we'll talk about it. But yeah, so I integrate that. I'm very big on like the physical healing, the mind, body, soul healing. So like that's really like I'm focusing on throughout like my day, like besides being a mom and being a business owner of like all this stuff, it's like I'm always kind of thinking like I'm clearing my body, I'm clearing my
Mhm.
energy.
Yeah, 100%. I think we typically like to tether to some of the more esoteric tools, or at least I do. Like I love the love and light world, and it's very easy to stay in that world with like, the crystal healings and the
Yeah.
Kundalini and my meditation, but it's like we really need to root into our physical body. Like we're here as a human being, not just like a spiritual being, and like sometimes it's all too easy to forget that. So I love how you
Yeah.
highlighted that. And I to dovetail off of that, just one last question, because I want
Yeah.
to chat about Nebula Soul, which is
Yeah.
a relatively new business for you, right?
Mhm.
When did you launch it?
I launched it in January,
Oh,
actually,
wow. Oh my
December.
gosh.
It's super early. It has actually organically kind of flown into things. So it seems like I've had it for a longer time, but I
Totally.
actually just launched it. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, I feel like we're talking about a lot of techniques and just like your approach to holistic health and just that mind, body, and soul connection. Can you take us through some of the transformational stories, experiences you have seen your clients move through some of your sessions?
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, so I will say, like, I launched Nebula Soul in January because I was like trying to wait for the new year to come, basically. But like, I have been doing this stuff for a while, and I've been working with clients like forever. But it was like, I was like, okay, now is the time. Like, I really want this to like be something new and come out of the closet, so to speak.
Mm,
So, a lot of what I do, I've realized it's I started out really trying to be like, okay, we're going to like heal the physical, right? Like we're going to heal the physical. But then I learned that what I've come here to do essentially is help people to figure out their purpose and live as their higher self. So a lot of the people that come to see me are people who are on that soul led business path, or they're soul
mhm,
led entrepreneurs, or they're spiritual healers who are looking to get clarity or get, creativity. So a lot of times people will come to me, and then afterwards, so like I have someone that is trying to figure out like they're a medium and they have these gifts and they're trying to
mm,
figure out what should they do, because they are usually living in like the therapy space. They're actually like a therapist who then is like now, like a psychologist who's now learning that they have gifts, right? And like how does that work? So I work with people like that who are getting rid of like pulling out their limited beliefs and their past traumas, like in a past life maybe they had an experience where they weren't allowed to speak or be who they are, and then we kind of like find that in the body and we pull that out, and and then you're doing the kundalini energy to like heal that. So that's kind of what I've been doing so far with my one-on-ones, and it's so powerful because it again gives you whatever you need. So like you're healing all these past things, but then you're also bringing on this clearer version of yourself. I won't say like new version. It is transformative, but it's also evolution. It's a higher version of yourself, but it's revealing who you are, not changing
mm.
who you are.
I love that. We're in this fixing epidemic, and it's really like a remembrance. It's a
Yeah.
returning. It's so much
Yeah.
more gentle than fixing. Like there
Yeah.
is nothing, there is nothing you need to fix about yourself. Absolutely nothing. It's just
Yeah.
returning. It's just
Yeah.
kind of stripping away some of these like societal shoulds and the shoulds that
Mhm.
we put all over ourselves, that we've like created this shell around ourselves. It's really just about cracking that open to remember who you
Yeah.
truly are.
Uh,
I love that. And I feel like the work that
yes.
you're putting out into the world is so needed. I feel like I want to do a one-on-one with you
Oh
100%.
my God,
And
you have to. We're definitely gonna do it. Like
yes.
we'll plan it. I definitely would love for you to, because it's so fun too to see people, especially people who are connected, to see what happens with them, because they always have like those are the people that are like swimming, and I'm like, where
Mm.
are you right now? Like I wish I like, and they'll be like, I was in the cosmos, just
Oh
like
my God.
with the dolphins and like doing crazy stuff, and I'm like,
I love that. What advice, just to close out before we hop into facing forward, what advice would you give for any just aspiring soulpreneur, conscious business owner just starting out?
I think that the best thing that you can do is really get clear on who you authentically are. Because when we're talking about that revealing self, you need to have something to always come back to. You need to have that anchor. And that's the filter that I run everything through that I do. This is who I am. This is my purpose. This is what I believe. And then I can then bring any product or anything through that lens and be like, this is make sense with who I am, or this doesn't make sense with who I am, because you need that anchor in this world where we are getting rocks and tomatoes thrown at us regularly. Like, you need to have that anchor of like, okay, well, I know who I am, so it doesn't matter. And so that's like the big thing, is just get clear on who you are, and anything that's blocking you, then you can say, okay, this doesn't feel like this is me. So how do I remove these pieces that are not a part of that authentic self?
Yeah, 100%. You have to get clear on who you are and what is your why, because from that place, you'll have this like sustainable, boundless power to live and lead from.
Yeah.
And I do. I used to create, I still create. I'm waitlisting consulting clients right now, but I used to create why guides. And that was kind of like the
Yeah.
central component to these brand messaging blueprints. Like everyone would go in and like want their storytelling strategy and their pitches and their scripts, but really, I kind of like bait and switch them. I was like, really, we're getting clear on like your personal why, because that is how you are going to create the, amplify your power and really
Right.
create a sustainable business and a successful business, whatever that looks like for you. And so it's like a why guide. I love that. Getting just clear on who you are is incredibly important. Oh my gosh. I want to talk about herbalism and botanical and herbal production and your cookbook and all the things. Oh my gosh. Well, I'll have to come you back. I'll have to have you back 100%. But moving forward, so face off. So these are quick fire questions meant to be answered in 2 to 3 sentences.
Oh
You
God.
ready?
Oh,
What are you currently doing to learn and grow right now? So any books, podcasts, newsletters, certifications,
I
anything like that.
am reading Healing the Witch Wound. So I'm learning all
Ooh,
about the witch wound right now. And I also have a spiritual mentor that's helping me like figure out my gifts.
ooh, love that. Ask for help. Can't do. Healers need healers.
Yeah.
100%. How are you slowing down and resacreding life right now?
I am tuning into my daughter. I slow down by disconnecting and just like getting in a playpen with her. And like that is how
Mm.
I slow down. I'm like, okay, this is where I need to be.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't have a kid, but I feel like they are the best teachers and like the best
Yes.
medicine. Like you
Yes.
said, they're like in that liminal, it's like they just came from the cosmos,
They
essentially.
did. And
Like
and
they
you
are
can't I
so
can't use my
pure,
phone because she's always trying to grab it. So it's like a perfect disconnect.
such pure energy filled with so much levity. I love that. What's a recent challenge you faced that you were scared of, but you overcame?
Coming out with Nebula Soul Method has been one of the hardest things. I'm terrified on a regular basis of like, oh my God, this is so out there, or people are going to freak out. And I have to constantly check in. Like, it's a huge one for me. And I am challenging everything in my life about it.
But I know that you are helping so many people, but also encouraging other people to like step into their power and step into their light and embody their gifts. So thank you.
Yeah.
What is one thing you wish people knew about you?
Oh my goodness. What is one thing I wish people knew about me? I'm funny. I think everything I do is so serious, and I am really funny, and I love ridiculous things and cursing, and I'm like actually like really wacky, and I don't feel like I ever get to really express that.
Oh my gosh, I feel kind of the same way. I feel like when I was younger, I was like such this little comedian, and I feel like I kind of lost that as I've been like building businesses. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's when you have kids, I've heard that that really like comes into form a lot more too.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like
I'm
good
like, oh
mirror
my God,
for
I'm a
us.
weirdo. Yeah, I'm so weird.
I love that. Normal is boring, 100%.
Yeah.
Not about that. Okay, and what can we expect from you growing forward?
Yeah, so expect Nebula Soul Method to take on the world. I'm going to be doing a lot of in person events all over. I think we're lacking connection. Everyone's so isolated, and I'm coming from a place of doing everything virtual, and I'm really trying to bring connection and community into that kind of like in person. And yeah, that's going to be my big focus. Nebula Soul Method, just really trying to help people remember who they are and just awaken their cosmic DNA.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. And where can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram at Amanda Nova Wellness, or you can find me at nebulasoul.com. That's like all of my good stuff now is there. And yeah, that's it.
You have to follow her Instagram, everyone. It is, oh, it's like such high impact, like intentional, cosmic, juicy knowledge that like you can integrate into your day to day. It's an absolute must. Amanda, thank you so, so much for being here.
So much for having me. I love this. Is amazing. Thank you.
We'll have to have you back. Thank you. Thank you.